here's a pickleback. Oh, that's really good. Oh my gosh. The next one, that is like double whammy because it's got all that sodium in addition to the alcohol. Don't recommend.
Goodness.
Hey, Empowered Vegan Lifers, Ella here with my co-host, hey Stephanie.
Ella, how are you?
I am doing well. I am anxiously waiting by the phone because Jai is getting her teeth cleaned, like the real deal, full cleaning with the anesthesia and everything, which makes me so nervous, but it just had to happen.
Yeah. It's hard to give your kids over to anybody.
Oh my gosh.
Especially when they're going to be asleep. Yeah. No, I get it.
Especially when they're four-legged animals. When I think about, does she understand? I'm talking to her. I tell her that don't worry, it's going to be all good. I'm going to be back. Don't worry. But whether she really understands that or not, I don't know. And that makes it harder.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I had a hard time giving Hemi to the groomer this morning.
And you gave Hemi to the groomer, like you picked him up. He's heavy. How much does he weigh?
He weighs 67 pounds.
Well, there's a workout.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Hemi's, he looks mean. Like he's super sweet, looks really sweet, but he has the pit bull look. Mm-hmm. So he looks mean, but he could be further from he runs from bunnies. He wants to be friends with the feral cats that live on the back of our property. He wants to be friends with them so bad. And they do one little swipe and he's gone. Like he just can't handle it, but but he did not. And he really likes the guy that comes to our house. He really likes him, but no, he was shaking and I had to pick him up and put him on the van. And
he's a sensitive soul.
He is a sensitive soul, very sensitive, but now he's very mad. So he's not sensitive now. He's just angry.
He's pouting.
Yeah. Angry is not the word.
Much.
He's pouting.
I got you. Yeah. Shai's an expert pouter.
Yeah. Well, you'll probably have 2 or 3 days of pouting would be my guess.
Yeah, it's very possible. Stephanie, guess what?
What?
Today's episode is with dun, 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 vegan roadie Dustin Harder.
Oh my gosh. Do you know we didn't talk about this episode before.
No, we didn't.
And I happened to be logged into your Zoom on my phone.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yes. And all of a sudden it popped up and it said, your interview with Dustin Harder is starting. And I about freaked out. I stood up and I ran around my house and I was like, oh my gosh, because I am the vegan Rosie's Rogie. See, I can't even speak.
You're all flustered.
I'm all flustered because I love Dustin so much. Like I am fangirling hard, and I don't do this.
I know you don't.
I only have one celebrity crush, and that's Leo DiCaprio, and Dustin Harder.
Oh my God!
I just love him so. I know. I was so jealous. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're interviewing him right now. And then I was going to casually pop in, but how do you casually pop into a Zoom room? I'd be like, oh, hey, Dustin, I didn't know you were here. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh, I wish I had known. I feel so terrible because I had no idea you had such a, because you're never starstruck. I never hear you being starstruck. You're not fazed by people like celebrities.
That's not really my thing, but I follow him on Instagram. I follow him on YouTube. I know. It's a little silly, really. Yeah.
Well, after this interview, I'm not as big a fan as you because I don't think anybody could be, but I think I'm second on the list.
Yes.
Yeah. His energy is just, oh my God, his energy alone is just so fabulous.
Oh, I know. I know. Absolutely. And he and his husband have such a beautiful relationship that they share with the world. And it's just, I love him.
He went to Kansas City. Did you see that Vegan Roadie episode?
Well, yes, I did. And I didn't know he was here when he was here. Again, I feel like I'm like 4 steps behind him.
Were you his fan back? That was like 2017 or something.
I had just started into my vegan curiosity.
Okay.
We'll call it, in 2017. Of course, I've been vegan curious for a very long time, but that was when I really started like really researching. And he was actually one of the first cookbooks that I picked up and started really watching and, you know, so yeah, I knew who he was even then.
Yeah. Oh.
His cheese sauce. His cheese sauce is legendary. And I have to say, and I'm being a little facetious about this, but not really, but his cheese sauce is so delicious. I say that it saved my vegan soul, because I love to dip. I love dipping things. And I love that horrible Rotel, you know, Velveeta concoction, which is it's disgusting even beside being a dairy product. And one day I really was I needed that. I just wanted that. It was a horrible, horrible craving. And I found his cheese sauce and put some Rotel in it, and it saved me. It saved me. Yeah. Put me on the road to a lifelong journey.
Put you on the vegan roadie road.
Put me on the vegan roadie road.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. I hope he's listening. Dustin, you have saved Stephanie's vegan soul.
You have saved my vegan soul. That is a big deal. That's a lot to live up to. Yeah.
That is. Well, let's get to it. I want to tell everybody, for those of you who do not know this incredible human being that you're about to meet, Dustin Harder, his first book, The Simply Vegan Cookbook, has been added to the Forbes list of best vegan cookbooks. How cool is that?
Yes.
And his second book, Epic Vegan, was featured on the best cookbooks list for 2019 on Eat This, Not That. Dustin's most recent release is Epic Vegan Quick and Easy, which I have in my possession. And we talk about that quite a bit on the episode. A graduate of the Natural Gourmet Institute, Dustin has worked in plant-based recipe and brand development, in addition to serving as a private chef, cooking instructor, and as culinary director for the Atlanta health food chain Arden's Garden. He is currently the Culinary Specialist with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Dustin is the host and creator of the original vegan travel culinary series, The Vegan Roadie, and podcast, Keep on Cooking. Dustin has been featured in such publications as Eating Well, Veg News, Vegan Lifestyle Magazine, Chow Hound, Vegetarian Times, and Paste Magazine. In 2020, Dustin appeared on Food Network's Girl Scout Baking Championship showcasing vegan baking paired with Girl Scout cookies. How fun is that? It is party time. Did you know about the Girl Scout cookie?
Oh yes, I've watched it. Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah.
Of course. Well, let's do that. So let's not keep everybody waiting any longer. Dustin, I'm so happy you're joining me today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I love everything that you're doing. Your new book is out, the Epic Vegan Quick and Easy. You've got the Vegan Roadie show that has 3 seasons down.
Yeah.
Yep. And you've got the Keep on Cooking podcast. You're all over the place.
I am a little scatterbrained, but pulling it together.
Wait, but now you've taken on another role. You're a culinary specialist at the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Is that right?
I am. Yes. So that's the full-time gig.
Wow. When did that come about?
I've been doing freelance stuff with PCRM for the last few years, probably 4 or 5 years, and then it eventually just sort of snowballed into this. So it's very exciting. I'm working with them to implement plant-based food in, institutions, hospitals and colleges and all that sort of stuff. It's great.
Wow. So you're like digging deep into the systems and
they've been doing such great work for so long with it, and now we're sort of pairing the food with it by bringing me into it. So it's a really fun path we're going down. I'm really excited.
Oh, this is so cool. I'm so happy about this. I'd love to start off though. Could you tell us where your passion for veganism and vegan food came from?
Yeah, of course. I went vegan, I think about 2009, and initially it was all like vanity. Like it was like, how can I maintain my weight? And I was an actor at the time, so trying to figure out basically that, maintain my weight and keep a healthy appearance, essentially. And I started switching things out, burgers and things like that. Back then, it was just like a black bean burger, as you know.
Yes, I did.
And then it became, as years went by, now it's become everything. Animals first and foremost, the environment, and of course my health. I noticed a shift in sleeping. I noticed sleeping better, and I noticed a shift in my skin, like all of the things. And when it came to me creating, I took a break from acting, went to culinary school. In the middle of it, I was like, why am I here? What am I doing? And that's when I was like, I'm going to do the first plant-based version of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And that's when the Vegan Roadie was sort of came about, right? And that's what my passion is, to sort of mesh entertainment with food and hopefully get to people on that level, because that's what worked for me. I read there's the Skinny Bitch book, but then also Skinny Bastard, and I read Skinny Bastard, and it made me laugh, it made me cry, but it also made me think. So I thought, okay, I want to entertain people, and maybe that will get them doing their own research a little bit deeper as well,
Absolutely. I think that's so important. I think there's a place, maybe you'll agree that there's a place for the serious stuff, but
Absolutely.
But bringing a lot of positivity, and this, like, your energy is so phenomenal. It's like, join me in the vegan club, and who wouldn't want to?
Well, thank you for that. That's sort of the thing. I remember when I went vegan, it felt there's a lot of the vegan police out there kind of telling us what's right and what's wrong, and you're not doing it right. And I remember I would go home after like going to a vegan event or something. I lived in New York at the time, and I would just feel defeated, and I'd want to give up, and I'd be like, well, then I'll just go out and buy dairy milk then. I'm over this. So when I really dove in deeper, I was like, well, how can I be part of shifting this a little bit? And I've met like-minded people who are the same, where we just want to say, hey, wherever you're at, it's cool. Like, you don't have to drop everything all at once. Just try a meatless meal. Go with a meatless Monday, or like for me, how it started, swap out a burger and see how you feel. Find the one that works for you. Because some people, that's the most intimidating factor, is they're like, oh my gosh, I have to like shift my whole life around. And whether you're looking at food or anything, that's always a big commitment, to shift everything around quickly, right? So I appreciate that. And I feel like that has been just such a wonderful way to meet people, and a great approach to just start a conversation.
So true. I find that when people say, oh, well, I could never be, good for you for being vegan, but I could never be vegan. My first response is, you don't have to. It's why don't you try one thing? Just try one thing. Let me show you how to do one thing. Yeah. And yeah, that can be the catalyst to everything.
That's exactly right. And I'm always like, I understand why you feel that way. I never thought I would be vegan in a million years, let alone like writing cookbooks and helping people put plant-based food on menus. So when somebody says that, I'm like, oh, I hear you 100%. I get where you're at. And I really do,
Right. Yeah, I don't, but yeah, I went vegan when I was 15, vegetarian at 7. So, but I got my degree in social work so I could better understand people and relate to people regardless. So
I get that. I love that there's all of our different camps of that too. People who come from different places with it. I think it really helps us be able to approach people on different levels. It's so cool.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the Vegan Roadie a little bit. Do you have any? I know you went to Italy. That was the 3rd season, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So, and how, first of all, how did you meet up with Miyoko in Italy? Like, how did that happen? I love her, and she's in San Francisco. Like, how did that work out?
Talk about lucky timing. I worked with a company called Vegan Travel Club for that particular season because they ran tours in Italy. And it just so happened that we were starting to film maybe 2 days after Miyoko's tour with that company that she was hosting was ending. And so when I had met Miyoko previously, I went and toured the facility and chatted with her. When I found out she was going to be there, I was like, hey, you're good in front of the camera. And she does this visit to Italy with this company often. So I was like, you could like show me around. And she was, to her credit, she was so on board and so wonderful and so giving of her time. But it was so fun to like film in Sicily with Miyoko. It was crazy.
No, that's amazing. She's such a good sport too. I did, it was years back. We had the Seed Food and Wine Festival in Miami, and they had a fashion show, and they invited her to be walk the runway. And I was walking too, you know, going, she strutted her stuff. Let me tell you, she got the crowd going. Yeah, she's awesome. So awesome. So cool. Well, I was I was in Italy actually a few years ago at the Amalfi Coast.
Right.
And I know you were talking about the tomatoes in one of your episodes. Tell them about the tomatoes.
I just don't want to ever eat a tomato in America ever after that. I remember just being like, we filmed I remember the moment with this tomato. We were filming because in the third season, we went into families' home and cooked with families for the last segment. And I was cooking with someone and she was like, go get the tomatoes off the garden on the porch. And I was like, okay. And so I go pick the tomatoes, we wash them. And then she goes, try one. And I tried one. And I was like, what are you going to do with these? She's like, we're not doing anything. We're going to drizzle a tiny bit of oil and put some basil on them. And I was like, great, because I just want this. And then that little touch of oil and it was so just like it burst in your mouth. It was so juicy and delicious and like sweet with the perfect amount of acidity. It was just the best tomato I've ever had in my entire life.
I had a similar experience.
Yes, life-changing.
And what the hell's wrong with our tomatoes, man? It's so frustrating.
And the short answer to that is everything.
Yes,
is wrong
everything.
with our tomatoes here.
Yes, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, right?
Yes. But yeah, no, so great how they just grow. Everybody has gardens and
everybody has gardens. And they were at restaurants, I found, because I remember when the Vegan Travel Club came to me and they wanted to film there. They were like, trust me, like there's stuff to eat. And I was like, but seriously, isn't it cheese? They were like, it's not all cheese and meat. They're like, we've Americanized it to make it more like that. But like they're growing their stuff right outside their restaurants or down the street. Like they're sourcing as locally as possible in most cases. And I'd imagine you were on the Amalfi Coast. So like you were getting a big plate full of that all the time. And they were not lying. We went there and everything. And there were a few places we filmed that had like vegan options. And when we said vegan to them, and this was in 2017, I think, they were never, even then in America at that time, you still get it, but like not as much. But the server wasn't like, vegan, what's that? The server was like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Like, we'll whip this up. Great. There's nothing on the menu, but like, we got you. We totally get what it is and no problem. Like Italy, it was just a non-issue.
It was for me too. I went with Food Heals Nation, Allison Melody, and Leslie Durso. Do you know Leslie Durso?
I don't.
You got to get up with her. She's a chef and she's amazing.
Oh, nice.
She's from there. And so she knew the whole town of Ravello. And we went around and we had like custom made, meals. I was so full. I couldn't help myself. It was so good, but so clean at the same time.
I was going to say you were so full on whole foods.
Yeah.
Like that was the difference. And we ate. My crew and I, at the end of the trip, we got home, we all got on the scale. And we were like, we didn't gain a pound, and we ate enough.
Yes.
We were eating the pasta, we were eating it. We were eating the bread, but we didn't because we were also eating all these whole foods with it. Like it was all sort of balanced.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there any in the United States episodes you did that really stood out to you?
Always what sticks out to me, I mean, they were all unique in their own way. And now since we've filmed, because I mean, those seasons 1 and 2 were filmed in 2015, 2016, things have just grown so much. But the one city I'm just in love with when it comes to vegan food is always Philadelphia. I just love it. And it just keeps growing and growing and growing and getting better and better. And non-vegan restaurants are adding all these amazing options to their menu. And the vegan community there is really strong. But I love it so much. We filmed 2 episodes there. That's the only city in the US so far that I've done 2 episodes in. And it's just, it really, every time I'm like, oh, there's something new we can try. This is great,
Oh man, and I'm sure it's changed so much. My dad's side of the family is from Philadelphia, and my 100-year-old grandmother still lives there. She's freaking awesome. She lives on her own.
I love that.
Yeah, but I'm going back in a few in a few weeks, so I'm gonna have to watch that episode. Though I'm sure since then, I'm sure so many things have popped up.
So much has come. Another place I would love to, whenever one day filming picks up back again somehow. Chicago. I never did a Chicago episode because at the time when I was filming, there was stuff, but it just felt kind of far apart and everything. And now it just seems like it's exploding. Like every time I look, there's something new popping up in Chicago.
That's awesome. And what about Miami? Hello.
Yes. I mean, the truth is for that too, I visited a few years ago when I was working with Chloe Coscarelli in the food hall at her place there. And I walked down the street and it was like vegan this, vegan that. Amazing.
It's exploded because I've been here 18 years. When I first got here, there was like nothing.
Yeah.
And now it's everywhere. So
Yeah.
are you going to pick it back up? I know like the whole COVID thing. What's the story?
Yeah, we haven't necessarily stopped because of COVID. For me, it became, I produced all 3 seasons on my own. So we did that with partnerships and we also did it with crowdfunding, right? So after 3 seasons of writing and hosting and, getting a crew together and being the company manager, planning all the travel and all the coordination with the restaurants, like I'm tired.
Yeah.
I love doing it. I'm so proud of the work we've done. Jumping on to another season. I don't think I'm doing it justice by me being the one person who's doing all of those things. I think we can do bigger and better by having a bigger team in place, but of course that all takes money. Yeah. So, I don't know what's next for it. I don't know if it's a proper TV station picking it up. I don't know if it's a reincarnation of it, but it's definitely not something that's lost on me. When the pandemic started, I had equipment right before it started. We were going to turn it into a podcast and interview chefs about it. Talk to different, do city by city and talk to different chefs and then have an Instagram with it that showed the meals and stories and all this stuff. And then COVID hit and restaurants have been in just such a hard place that I was like, this feels pretty insensitive of me to be hitting a restaurant up when they're literally just trying to survive. Right. So then we shifted and now I do a podcast on plant-based cookbooks. But so there was a podcast idea once upon a time. Maybe it'll roll back to that. I don't know,
Well, you have 3 books out. Yes, 3. So the first one was the Simply Vegan Cookbook.
Yes.
And can you tell us the 3 different cookbooks and what makes them different?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one's the Simply Vegan Cookbook, maybe mentioned on the Forbes best vegan cookbooks list, just saying. And it's all done sort of by ingredients. So there's a chapter on rice, there's a chapter on beans, there's a chapter on cauliflower, a chapter on mushrooms. So all recipes that are based around those. So if you have, leafy greens in your house, you can look that up. Actually, I don't know if that's a chapter. If they're kale or greens, it might be greens. But if you have cauliflower, like I said, you can look that up. You have broccoli, you can look that up. A chapter on potatoes, you can look that up. Of course, there's one chapter that's not like that, and that's the desserts chapter, because I always have a sweets chapter. But so that book really gives you sort of by ingredient. You can look up a chapter and see what you want to make with what you have. Epic Vegan is this crazy idea of stunt foods, right? So when you look at Taco Bell and they've got a Dorito shell taco, that's a stunt food. And this was an idea of that going completely vegan. So on the cover, you've got alone a macaroni and cheese barbecue blue burger, it's called. And that's a burger. It's like a double-decker burger with a burger, another layer, blue cheese, barbecue sauce, bacon, macaroni and cheese. So we're not talking health food, everybody. That's not the goal here. We're also not talking quick and easy meals. We're talking get in the kitchen with friends or family and have fun. Really take the time to put stuff together and enjoy the experience of cooking with people. That's what it's about. There's a basics chapter in it though, right? So you do have all these easy recipes that then for the rest of the book, you can sort of pile all those easy recipes on top of each other, or you have sort of store-bought options I give you as well. So you can take the from scratch route or the store-bought route. I don't judge anybody. Take whatever route's going to work for you. So that's the first Epic Vegan book. I'm trying to think of some other examples of the stunt food in there. We've got a milkshake chapter with all the over-the-top milkshakes with brownies and cookies and donuts and all that stuff in them. There's a donut breakfast sandwich, all these crazy, crazy things. There's a French onion pasta bake. There's, a cookie dough cake. So cake with cookie dough in it and cookies. It's really, the tagline is wild and crazy over the top plant-based recipes. And that's exactly what it is.
Which you're making me hungry.
It's the craziest book. It's super fun. Yeah. There's a pizza chapter, even lots of crazy pizzas. There's a crab rangoon pizza. See what I mean? It's just crazy stuff. Yeah. Crazy good. But then when the publisher and I got together for the next incarnation of Epic Vegan, we were like, okay, we've gone over the top. What else can epic mean? And I thought, well, epic in flavor, but quick and easy, which is what everyone loves, right? So it's one pot, one pan meals that are quick and easy, but big on flavor still, So we've got loaded sheet pan nachos. We've got sheet pan pancakes that you can make in there that are like these cinnamon roll pancakes almost, where you're using the cinnamon roll flavors, but in a pancake, you put it in a sheet pan, it's done. There's a lasagna in there that's super quick and easy. There's a mac and cheese in there that's quick and easy. Yes! Got these smoky black bean oh, I'm all fuzzy.
Oh yeah, now you're fuzzy.
But we see your cover.
Yes.
Those are smoky black bean kale tostadas on the cover. Lots of stuff that you can just toss together really quick and easy for meal prep. It's great for meal prep. I give 2 pages worth of meal prep suggestions in there. And stuff that's great for a weeknight, really, to sort of like, if you come home and you're like, oh my gosh, I only have these few things, you can toss things together quickly. It's great for that.
Well, I have some toothpicks marking some of my favorite pages in here. And one of them, I was so excited to see that you had grits. Because oh no, people in Miami, they have no idea what a grit is. They're like, what is a grit? What do you
Which is so funny because we're technically down south,
right?
Miami still, so like, hello.
But I love grits.
Quick and easy. It's the cheesy jalapeno grits, right?
That is correct. Okay. That is correct. And then you've got the easiest carrot bacon ever. So
simple.
Hello.
Just some spices, a little oil, and you fry it up in the frying pan. And then you can use that for a CLT, a carrot, lettuce, and tomato sandwich later on down the line.
Yes. And I love that you have multiple mac and cheese, because mac and cheese is my thing, Dustin. It's my thing. You've got multiple recipes.
We vibe on this because mac and cheese is my all-time favorite thing. It's interesting. The last Epic Vegan, I slaved over this sauce and I love it so much. This one is a little less nuanced. It's very quick. It's very like, here's some seasonings, and we use pureed pumpkin for the base. So like stuff that's like very, very simple to find in the grocery store.
Right. Which is, that's where we're at today. Like people want quick and simple for the most part. So these recipes are phenomenal.
Thank you.
So excited you came out with this book.
I really, and my colleague and dear friend, Ashley Madden, did the photography for it. This one and the last one. She did such a phenomenal job. She was so great.
Yeah. The pictures are beautiful as well. I have a question.
Yes.
Okay. So speaking of grits, it was years back, and I went to one of the fanciest restaurants in all of Miami Beach. And we get there, and the one thing that they said they could make me was polenta. So I had a very awesome mushroom polenta dish. It was freaking grits, right? And it was, I think it was probably a $40 bowl of grits. And I'm like, these are grits, and I love grits. So I was very happy with my meal, and I wasn't paying. So I was fine with that. But is there a difference? What is the polenta?
No, I mean, I think they're both essentially like a cornmeal. I'm going to Google now if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we know. I think it's essentially a cornmeal. It might just be a difference between the sort of grain of it. But I think if you let probably guess it's made from yellow corn, while grits are normally made of white corn. There we go. And the run-of-the-mill polenta will have a flakier, coarser grind. So I wasn't wrong. There we go. But I do think, did the grits that you got, or the polenta that you got, was it solidified like polenta, or was it like creamy like grits?
It was still creamy like grits, but it was extra creamy. I have to give it that. And I don't know what they said it was vegan, so it better have been vegan. But it did seem like the little individual little grit things were bigger. Right. I don't know if I don't know if they were maybe cooked like longer so that they got a little fluffier. I don't know what it was.
Because when I think of polenta, I always think it's like, I lay mine out on a sheet, I cook it, and then I lay it on a sheet pan, and then it solidifies, and I like sear off the little squares of it or anything. So it's interesting. They literally served it up to you like grits.
They literally did. Which again, I was happy, but I was like, okay, this is
right. I mean, I guess not much of a difference from what we learned today. So
but one's fancy, one's not. So
exactly.
So very cool. Okay. So if you had to pick a favorite dessert from your book, I am not a huge dessert person. Oh, before we get there, I have to, oh my God, I would love to do this with you one day, is literally go on the search for the best macaroni and cheese, vegan mac and cheese in like the country, maybe the world, that and donuts.
Do you have your favorite mac and cheese right now from a place? Like, could you say what your favorite has been?
Well, no.
I can tell you my favorite one, strangely enough, has been from a place called Cafe Pederizo in Seattle. Not vegan. We didn't film there. I ate there on like a down night when we were filming, and they had like 2 vegan options. And I was like, obviously, I'm gonna get this mac and cheese. And you're not a vegan place, so I'm very curious to see how this goes down. And it was delicious. Like it was creamy, but it had some like texture. It was a baked mac and cheese, so it had some texture to it as well. I was so impressed with it. And there's another one I had recently where my husband and I were just like wowed by it, and I can't remember what it is.
Well, I want to get out there and do the research myself.
Well, I know we need to go on a mac and cheese tour together and
Wouldn't
figure
that be
it
fun?
out. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then I could add a few other things to that, but we don't go.
Right. The donuts. We got to find the best donuts too.
Donuts. Like if I'm going to eat a donut, I don't eat many sweets anymore. I'm kind of off sugar, but there are a few sweets that I'm like, okay, I'll make an exception there. And number one is a good freaking donut. Number 2 is a good cinnamon roll. And number 3 is a good carrot cake. Those are my 3 that I cannot resist.
Good ones to have. I will say about the donut, it might almost be easier, and I hate saying this because I don't want to be negative, but donuts to me are so delicious and hard to mess up. It might be better to say, what was the worst donut that we ate? Because it's almost like pizza to me. Pizza to me is hard to mess up. And I'm like, well, then what's the worst pizza I've ever had?
Right.
A place in Omaha, Nebraska, like 20 years ago, the worst pizza I ever had. Can't recall the place, but I do remember it was in Omaha, Nebraska. Anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to mess up, I guess, dough that's deep fried with a bunch of
fried dough, right? And there have been a couple times where I've been like, this is the worst donut I ever had.
Yeah, no, I've had some of those as well. And the only problem with doing that, if I have to like start thinking with my analytical mind, is that it would be kind of mean to call people.
It's mean. That's what I'm saying. It's negative, right? It's negative. So I'm like, I don't necessarily want to go there, but it's so hard to pick the best donut. Yeah,
that is true. That is true. Carrot cake could be a little easier because the frosting can vary so much, and I love that like cream cheese frosting. Anyway,
me too.
Okay, what about you for your favorite dessert? If you would have to
favorite dessert from this, so I opened to it, and I do love this one. It's the PB&J banana muffins. I don't know if that's so much a dessert though. It's in the sweet section, but I don't think that's a straight up dessert. But the no churn pineapple and basil sorbet is one of my absolute favorites, and it's so easy to come together. It's pineapple, basil, maybe a little bit of juice. What else did I put in there? Oh, it's a little bit of agave and basil. Yeah, and pineapple. Oh, and then crushed pineapple. That's where we get our sort of like less frozen delight from there. But you don't need an ice cream maker to make it. And the combination of pineapple and basil, just so good.
Oh, that's something I think a lot of people, myself included, and I have a book out as well, but I had to teach myself to cook to write that book like real quick.
I love it.
Don't tell the publishing company. Little combinations like that you wouldn't necessarily think, like basil, like a green herb like that, and a fruit. Like, you know what I mean?
Do know. And when you talk about combinations, it made me immediately think of another ice cream in the last book that is so weird, but I promise you it's so delicious because, again, the last book was weird, a little crazy over the top, right?
Right, yeah.
It's called the Sneaky Pickle Pineapple Ice Cream. And it's a pickle and pineapple combination in like a vanilla cashew coconut base, but pickle pineapple combination in it. And I'm not kidding you when I tell you it's so delicious.
Oh my gosh. That is crazy. That sounds
Isn't that the weirdest thing? There was a place in New York doing like pickle soft serve. And I was like, I'm not feeling down with this pickle business. So I tried like a plain pickle one and I was like, well, that's not bad. I'm like, but what if we like paired it with something a little sweet? So it's like sweet and sour together.
Oh man, I'm super, super curious about that. I love pickles.
Tasty, I promise.
Yeah. I do have a bad story about, have you ever had a pickleback?
Is that the shot?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have. Yes.
Yeah.
What's in that? Like, is it like whiskey and pickle juice?
It's literally, I think it was whiskey and pickle juice, half and half. And let me tell you what happens when you drink too many of those. I was in Berlin and I like made friend with the bartender, and she was doing me favors. You know, here's a pickleback. Oh, that's really good. Oh my gosh. The next day, that is like double whammy because it's got all that sodium in addition to the alcohol. It's okay. Don't recommend picklebacks.
or if you do a pickleback, do like one and call it, switch to something else. Maybe
that would be somebody who knows how to do moderation.
How about bartender to chill out? Like I appreciate it, but calm down.
Agreed. Oh my gosh. Oh, I wanted to ask you about the Girl Scout cookie. For sure.
Can
you tell that story?
Yeah, I did a Food Network baking competition. It was the Girl Scout Cookie Championship, and it was really cool. Very hectic and chaotic feeling when you're doing it. And there were 2 rounds. I made it through all the way to the end. I won't say anything else for anybody that wants to watch it. But if you do want to go watch it, it's a Girl Scout Cookie Championship. I think it's available on Amazon for like $2. And it's called Chocomania. It's episode number 3, but I competed on there. I had to make a cupcake and then a 6-layer cake. So I did both of those things on there, incorporating Girl Scout cookies into it, which of course I was the weird guy because I was like, I need the vegan Girl Scout cookies. So those phone calls with the producers were really fun.
Now, are there vegan Girl Scout cookies?
So it's interesting the way it works. There's 2 different, and I may not get this completely correct because it's been a couple of years, but there's 2 different kitchens that make Girl Scout cookies. And one of them have like 4 or 5 different vegan versions. Like for example, there's a non-vegan s'mores and then there's a vegan s'mores cookie. So like there's different versions of them. And that means also that so for anyone listening, I'm not telling you there's a bunch of vegan Girl Scout cookies. There's certain troops that have availability to more vegan Girl Scout cookies, but I believe the Thin Mints are vegan across the board.
Got it. Okay, good to know. Tell us about your diet and what you do, because you've got these, you've got the fun stuff and the really, extravagant, decadent stuff. And then you've got the really healthy, more whole foods based stuff. You can do it all. So what's your regular kind of routine?
What do I do?
Yeah,
really,
what do
right?
you do? Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. This has shifted a lot over the years from when I first started. And I guess I started filming in 2014. And in those, like 2014 to 2018, I put on probably like 25 pounds because I was filming and eating and not in moderation. I was so excited to be doing what I was doing that I was just sort of saying, who cares, and eating whatever I wanted. And I have no regrets on that either, by the way. Yeah. But then we had for the second book, I do a bunch of lifestyle photos in it, and I just didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like I was in my own body anymore. I felt like I was no longer present to my true self. So I did that's when I really started watching what I was eating more. And it's hard for me specifically because of all the testing I do, right? And when I would make something that was delicious, I immediately, it's just an addictive personality I have. I'm a recovering alcoholic too. So like, it's just in my bones that I'm like, oh, I want more of that. It's good. I want more. And so when I'm testing things, that's when I have to be careful. I have to little bite and then be like, okay, this is what I need to do. And I don't need to test it till the next time. Another place I struggle is when I'm doing baked goods. If I'm making a cake or something, I want to lick that spoon every time, but all that licking the spoon adds up. Right. So now I'm just much more cautious about things when I'm testing them. And on the daily, I would say my diet is pretty balanced. I try and incorporate as much whole food, plant-based foods as I can, but I don't shy away from, if I want an Impossible burger, I have one. I have no judgment on that, or a Beyond Burger. If I want a field roast sausage, I have that. But that's usually accompanied with, a field roast sausage might end up in like a little bit of pasta with a bunch of vegetables for me now. Vegetables make the bigger portion of whatever I'm eating at any given time. Big on soup. We're in October right now. So like I clear out my fridge every few days and just make a soup. For everyone listening, that is the best way to clean out your refrigerator. Just play with the ingredients you have in there and then add a little spices, a little salt, a little pepper. It's going to be super tasty. But yeah, and I've started using less oil in my personal daily routine. Sometimes I go completely without it because I've had clients who don't eat oil. And so I've really explored with it and done a lot more with it. I worked for a brand for a year and a half as their culinary director, where the owner really wanted to go down an oil-free, salt-free route. So I've really played with those things and I incorporate that into my life. All to say, it has progressed a lot since I started working professionally in food. Those first few years, eating whatever I wanted, and especially trying to find the best mac and cheese, the best pizza, just eating them when I found them. And now I take a much more, conscious approach. And I'm a lot more aware of when it is something super decadent and delicious. I have a smaller portion and I enjoy it more now. I'm not like devouring it. I'm kind of savoring the bites, which you hear people say this and you hear people, and I always thought, I was like, listen, if I want to just eat a whole ton, like that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I want. And honestly, I find more enjoyment now in really pausing with my food, taking a bite, chewing it, setting my fork down, which comes over time. Sometimes I do still want to have an emotional moment and, eat all the things in front of me. But for the most part, I'd say my daily routine now is a little more balanced, smaller breakfast, usually soup salad sort of situation for lunch, and then something a little heartier for dinner. Try and have fruits for snacks, or have you ever had those rice puff sticks?
What, the hippies?
No, they're like these rice puffs that are stuck together with just like a little bit of agave, I think. And like, it's the perfect, I don't think so. They're not super sweet at all. And they're not high. The macros are not high. And I just have like a little one of those. And it's like super nice for a little sweet treat, because I do have a crazy sweet tooth, right? I keep popsicles in the house. So I'll have a popsicle now when I want something sweet, instead of having like a pint of vegan Ben and Jerry's. So I do get a little sweet and cold there, So that's sort of where I'm at these days.
Yeah, no, I really like that. I think that'll resonate with our audience too. And we do have a lot of people listening that do have addictive personalities, myself included. Yeah. And some of them are recovering alcoholics as well. And a lot of them had and still are struggling with some food addictions. Do you have any thoughts on that overlap of maybe like alcoholism versus food addiction? Do you have any insight?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak, of course, from my personal place in it, and it has definitely played a bit. It carried right over. And that's where I think my awareness started to become a little more when I talk about me putting the fork down and everything. Or I'll find myself, I used to like, and this is me being very candid and sharing this, I haven't really shared this before, but like when in the end of my drinking days, I used to drink alone. Like that became sort of like a thing for me. And so I'll notice now, if I'm like, oh, I can go home and then I'm going to like eat this bowl of cereal, and I'll look around and be like, I'm by myself. I'm like, and that's reminiscent. I'm like, oh, that's sort of addictive behavior. It has nothing to do with the food right now. Yes. It's that I'm doing this sort of like addictive thing by myself. And so I've actually been exploring that a lot more lately. So it's interesting you asked that, but I do definitely think it bleeds over, I think, to a different degree for everybody, obviously, because everybody's addictions and all that are different. But it certainly has for me. And sugar, alcohol for me plays right into sugar. That's why and Chef AJ says it best. I saw you had her on a while ago. She's like, if you have it in the house, you will eat it. That is so true. That's so true. And it's very difficult. My husband gets the Chick Boom Pop and he doesn't have the addictive issues that I have. And like, I want to eat the whole bag, and he doesn't have to necessarily, like, he doesn't have to worry about that at all, So it's like, I need him to put it out of sight, out of mind for me. So it is interesting when you're sharing a home with somebody, and navigating those sorts of things. But you got to kind of figure out what your vices are. And then for me, an all or nothing approach sometimes works. Some alcohol, definitely all or nothing works for me. I think that's sort of how it is for a lot of people. Yeah. But with food, I'm discovering that it's not one size fits all, right? And for me, it's been finding the moments to enjoy it and also make it a part of my community. Like with my husband sitting down at our dinner table, we just got our first home this year. And after living in New York and having a small, tiny table that was in the middle of our living room, and all, I was like, we have to get the one thing. I said, I just want us to have a nice dining room table. So now it's become, we sit down at night, we have 2 plates of food, we talk, and we, instead of us like me hovering by myself in the kitchen, eating what I just made or something like that. That's also helped me with when I'm testing things. I take the bite and I put it aside. I'm like, oh, it's not dinner time yet, and I'm not hungry right now. Often when I'm testing, I'm not hungry at all, but I'll still eat because it's there.
Right.
So,
Right. How do you navigate that? And was your husband vegan? When did he make the change?
yeah, very good question. He was not vegan for we've been together 9 years. I want to say he wasn't vegan for like a good 4 or 5 of it. It was in Italy that this shift, so that must have been like 4 years, Italy, that the shift started to take place for him, because as a creator, as you know, we look at numbers. It's part of what we do. We look at how many people are listening. We look at how many books are being sold, all that stuff like that. And it's a roller coaster for us as creators.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to him at one point, I said, I just don't get it. Like, if I can't get more eyes on this and change people's minds, or like if at this point, I said to him, if this point you haven't changed your mind and you're in this with me, like, you come help me set up, you help me at events, you eat all the food I make, you talk to people about how good it is, but then I'll turn around and you like want to go get a pepperoni pizza. I said, I don't know how I'm supposed to change all of these other people's minds. You know, I don't know how that really works. And he like thought about that. And then he thought about all we've done. And he came to me like a month later, and I never pressured him at all. It was a genuine question of like, you know, I'm not seeing the numbers go up. And if I can't change your mind, maybe I'm at a wall, and maybe this is as far as I can take it. And he really then like just sort of was like, I don't know how that didn't connect. Like, I don't know how all the things we've done didn't connect for me when I actually fully support why you're vegan, you know? And like, so then it clicked for him, and he was like, oh, animals became a big part of it for him, you know? And I think that's what it is for a lot of people, but it's just hard for them. Everybody digests it differently, you know? And I wasn't trying in that moment to be like, you need to be vegan. It wasn't what I was saying. It was a genuine question of like, well, if I haven't gotten you all the way over, like, I don't really know where to go from this point with everyone else in the world who are strangers to me, essentially, you know? So that probably happened 4 or 5 years in. And before that, and this isn't like this for everyone, he was very supportive from the minute we met. He would be looking at vegan restaurants for us to go to on dates. He would be looking when we traveled, like places for me to be able to eat. And of course, I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And he always worried about it, to his credit. Like, he was always trying to be helpful, and he was excited about it. When we found a vegan cheese or something that was amazing, he would like lose his mind over it. And I was like, this is great. You know, food really excited him in a different way in the vegan world. So I fortunately had somebody who, while they were not vegan, they were still very interested in it.
No, that's so important. I'm just getting back into the dating scene myself.
Yes.
And trying to navigate, okay, what this is going to look like. Cause I know, I mean, long term, I've got to be with somebody who shares my deep values for more than anything for animals for me. But yeah, how did you navigate that when you first met him? And it sounds like he was so respectful right away. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, well, it'll be a test, you know, if we go out to dinner, how's he going to act as we go out to dinner?
Yeah.
Right. So what was your experience?
Well, I mean, I'm curious about that. So you're looking, the pool is open, right? You're not just saying I'm only going to date a vegan, right?
I'm doing that because so 2% of the world's population is vegan. If I'm dating men, so that's another like,
oh my gosh, I see. Yeah.
And I live in, you know, I'm being open-minded is what my point is. I've never dated a vegan until my last boyfriend, who went vegan because of his health during our dating. But now I know I need to be with vegan long-term. However, I don't know if that's really smart to just rule somebody out. If they're open-minded and they're respectful.
I think you say the key words, open-minded and respectful. And I think I remember David sort of that's my husband, in the beginning, sort of poking fun when I would say like, well, you know, something. And he'd be like, stop reading so much. You know what I mean? And in that moment, I was like, I don't like that. And I kind of said that, and he was like, I'm so sorry, I won't even say that anymore. Because it's not in his nature. He really was just like jabbing, poking fun at me. So I do think it comes down to like, how much do they respect you in that arena? And I can honestly say, had he not been, it just would have been like maybe a second date and we'd go from there. But I think it's important to sort of like, you know, a foundation of a good relationship is respect, right? So if this person can't respect you for your choices that are very valid and they can't see why, like if they're not even curious about that on a very like just want to know nature, then I think that's an issue too, right?
1,000%. I mean, here in Miami, the dating scene's so bad. Like to get someone just to ask me a question back, any question, like it's crazy.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so excited to be back in the dating game.
I can tell you're just thrilled.
Bad attitude, Ella. Stop it. Manifest what I want. I will work on that, and you will be my inspiration.
Yes, we'll manifest it for you together. It's going to be a gorgeous vegan man coming your way.
Tell us a little more about your cooking show or your podcast. And
sure.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Yeah, the name of the podcast is Keep On Cooking. We're on a little bit of a hiatus here because I decided I'm the boss and I can do what I want. We get hooked up, again, as I'm sure you know, in this world of creating where we're like, well, we've got to do this and we have to release this much time and do. Right. And I did that for a while. I did 36 episodes in a row and it's a lot. And I love the podcast, though, is the problem. So I don't necessarily want to let it go. So now I've decided the next, I've been doing interviews the last month. I took the summer off, but doing interviews now. And I'm going to compile 10 interviews, 10, 15, and release them all in January. And then, take a few months off and then we'll do it all again. And that's going to be how the podcast is going to be. And it's been great. We've had Miyoko on there. We've had Chloe Coscarelli, Terry Hope Romero, Jason Robel, Rich and Kate from Veg in Philadelphia, all these really fantastic cookbook authors. Just really, really great people. Tracy McQuarter, Ageless Vegan. And coming up, we've got Issa Chandra just did an interview. So she'll be on there talking about her many, many vegan cookbooks. Robert Cheek from Plant-Based Athlete. They just had the #1 bestseller there. He was on. Tabitha Brown's going to be on talking about her new book. So I've got a lot of really exciting guests coming up that I'm really stoked to release in January in that one nice little bundle there. And it's a great month for it too. Everyone's always interested in plant-based eating in January. So, but essentially we cover, the author comes on, we talk about their sort of foray into veganism or how they grew up in cooking and all that stuff like that. And then we move into the book, go through it, and we chat about their favorite recipes and get a sort of behind the scenes look on writing the recipes.
Beautiful. Oh, Dustin, this has been so much fun. I have a sprint round.
Yeah.
All right.
I love it.
I knew you'd be up for it. I'll start with the easy questions. Okay. Tofu, tempeh, or edamame?
Tofu.
One food you could eat every day for the rest of your life.
This one is always hard. Pizza. I'm just going to say it. Pizza.
Pizza. I love it. Okay. What non-human animal do you think you might share the most qualities with?
I want to say like a bear.
Bear.
Just because they slumber a lot, but then they're also cranky sometimes. That's me. But then I think sometimes they can also be nice and peaceful when you least expect it. That's me.
I like it. Okay. Name one thing on your bucket list that you haven't done yet.
Skydiving.
Is that in the plans?
I keep trying to get David on board, and every time he's like, "Oh, I don't know if that day's gonna work. I don't know if I'm like, are you sure you want to do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, I really want to do it."
Do you think he really wants to do it?
I do think he does. I think there's a little bit of he'll get there. He'll get there.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. Well, if you need another buddy, that's on my bucket list too. So just
yes, I love it.
Okay, all right.
Yes. We're hanging out. It's happening.
Okay, cool. And then one random talent or quirk that you have that you may or may not share.
I don't know if it's a talent. It's more of a quirk. I have a habit of getting like one song of a line of a song stuck in my head, and I will just sing it at random all day long, sometimes for a whole week. Bless my husband, but like it's terrible.
Bless your husband. Do you remember do you remember the last one you got stuck in your head?
Yes, it's in my head right now. Turn on the Radio by Reba McEntire. It's been in my head for all week, and I spit it out little lines from it all the time right now.
Oh my God, that's great.
Mm-hmm. It makes for really weird dreams and really like restless sleep sometimes.
Oh, so much fun. You are so much fun, Dustin.
Oh, you're the best.
Oh, thank you so much. You guys listen to Dustin on his podcast. Go grab this phenomenal book. It is, oh my God, it's just packed. It's packed with recipes that you can make in literally like half an hour or less.
Yes. Yeah. Almost everything's 30 minutes. Yeah, not that much cleaning because we're putting out one pan, one pot, good to go.
Yep, super duper. All right, Dustin, let's do it again sometime.
Yes, thanks for having me.